So I shared some of this in a podcast a while ago, and it continues to be something that presses on me. I don't know if Holy Week and Tuesday is the best time to even talk about this at all, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, because it's about time. It's been probably, almost a year and a half now since World View Everlasting shut down. And that was challenging. There were relationship challenges that happened there. There was the issue of doing a lot of work for 5-6 years to build something quite large and then watching it fall apart. And I think what it's done is it's made me a little gun shy, especially about YouTube and especially about video. And there's a number of other pieces to this. Like, there are other places for putting video out there. So you have Facebook, right, where you have kind of instant gratification because there's people who are always on Facebook, so the live shows up a little more. And then you have Twitter, which is kind of cool. It's got this like short snippet ability to go live. Like, I can't go live on YouTube right now. I haven't met the qualifications. So, well, I had no more, right? So Twitter lets you do that right away. But what YouTube does have is the ability to catalog what you've done and to have it there for posterity. You know, who knows? YouTube might fall apart or turn evil and start blocking stuff. But it's a lot easier to find stuff there. So, but then it's like, but it has to be high quality, right? You get to the point where you got a studio and you got high def and you got good sound and you got all that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, we got to get back there before we can put anything else out. And what all that does is it gets in the way of actually recording footage, especially when you got a number of other balls in the air, because the podcast, which is certainly going here at the moment to the YouTube channel, like, that's a real thing. I'm enjoying that. It seems to be also providing a niche. It's the only income stream I have outside of my real jobs is connected to that as well, and YouTube's not going to give me anything. So there's no, like, it's difficult to build up the motivation to be able to do it. But here's my thinking right now and my plan, and it comes out of Everbook and the conversation I've been having with Pastor Wolfmueller about Everbook and stuff, and small wins. What I'm thinking is I'm going to try, we'll see if I can just do it. I'm going to try not caring, and I'm not going to plan. I can't promise you anything in terms of quality, but what I can say is I'm going to do is I'm going to be streaming like this, and it's going to happen regularly. And I'm going to talk about what I find important, which will be theology, but it won't only be theology. There was a point there a while back too, and I was kind of searching for, again, I've been searching for too long in a sense, but searching for what to do content-wise, and there were some times when I spoke about some political realities in our world, and people got real upset. Hey, you're the pastor guy. You're supposed to talk about theology. I agree. I should talk about theology. But what makes you believe that the fourth commandment is not theology? And what makes you believe that the political reality of taking care of our city, taking care of our community, taking care of our country, and taking care of our world is not what the fourth commandment's all about? Now, I'm not saying that we should all get into which political party you're in, although I think you're being forced one way or the other these days if you're not paying attention, particularly when it comes to issues like life, but also when it comes to issues like freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And you know what, if they take away our freedom of religion, fine, then we're going to suffer for it, and that'll be the way that it is. But that doesn't mean we should sit here and try to make it happen or turn a blind eye to it, right? So, anyway, I don't know that I care particularly about convincing you that it's okay for me to talk about what I think is right for the world, right? And I'm sorry if that gets in the way of you hearing from me how what is really right for the world is Jesus Christ risen from the dead. But what I just can't do anymore is pretend to be something that I'm not. This is why World View Everlasting ultimately crashed, at least in my mind, right? I can't pretend to be something that I'm not. I'm not a happy-go-lucky, bouncy guy who loves monkeys and ninjas, yeah? I like ninjas just fine. Monkeys are okay, sure. I'm who I am. And who I am is, at this point, somebody who does still deeply care about Lutheran theology and believe that it is what the Word of God actually says. Someone who cares about the survival of Christianity in Western civilization because of what the Word of God says, but for that reason also cares quite a bit about Western civilization and hardly is unable to speak about that. And if what I believe to be the implications of our theology on Western civilization offends you, or if you don't like that I'm taking the theology outside of the box of the congregation and applying it to the box of the world, well then great, good. We should have a conversation about that. That's kind of the thing that we're missing, isn't it? The ability to disagree with each other, the ability to not be offended just because somebody said something that you don't like. So, well, welcome back to whatever this is. We'll see if I get up a second video at all, or if I just wallow in despair and depression and don't even try. But hopefully, welcome back to, well, me talking to you with our theology and not barring any holes. I almost said holding any bars. I'm not going to hold any bars. Not barring any holds, not pulling any punches, just calling it like I see it with my foundation. It's not the only thing I think with. Reason and tradition are good, but the foundation is what the scriptures say. And the scriptures say that we should care about the fourth commandment. We should care about this first article world in which we live. We should care about how it impacts us and how we stand up in it. And frankly, now is the time for Christians to start saying, yeah, the country might fall apart. That's for sure. We don't need to make it fall apart. We shouldn't cheer it as it falls apart. And we definitely want to be able to speak truth into its falling apart so that we can proclaim grace. Let me give you one more thing. I'm going to talk about this on the podcast later this week as well. But I was really disturbed as Notre Dame was burning. I mean, everyone was disturbed because it was burning. I was saddened by that, but I've shared this before other places. The tragedies don't surprise me that much anymore. Our theology is pretty clear about this. Crazy stuff like that, it's going to happen a lot. And just because something stands for 900 years doesn't mean it's going to stand for 900 years more. I agree. We should try to help it stand. Rebuild it? Fine, although watch this. See if it's actually a Christian church when it's rebuilt. That'll be curious to see what happens there, or whether they'll turn into some sort of statist glorification of the unity of all religions kind of thing. That'll be very interesting. But as it was burning down, Ben Shapiro, famous guy, right? Political guy. I don't really always listen to him, but I follow him on Twitter. He made a joke at the expense of Donald Trump, who frankly sets himself up sometimes for jokes, as much as I don't mind the guy, honestly, but he sets himself up to be made fun of by saying stupid stuff sometimes. So he said something. Shapiro said something, which ultimately ended up being a stupid thing to say. It was the wrong thing at the wrong time. I'm not sure he even got the joke, but people got really upset at him for this. Christians particularly, who for some reason conceive of the collapse of Notre Dame with the collapse, that now there's no Christianity or something like that. I don't know. Like, no one goes to church at that place. It's not this big building with like lots of Christians. And France is not this huge Christian nation. Anyhow, everyone started defending it as if it was, right? And here's the thing. Okay, so fine. So we're going to be the Christians crying, you're persecuting us now. Okay, just fall into the victim mentality. Fine. What does Shapiro do? He says, I'm sorry. Huh? Whoa. Yeah, that's actually pretty sweet. Like, he says, I apologize, wrong place, wrong time, too soon. Like, he got it. Yeah? And then, what do we do as Christians? I mean, go look and see the responses to this tweet. What do? Do we forgive him? No. No, we don't. We hate more. Yeah? And there's been at least one guy, I'll talk again more about him on the podcast later this week, one guy on Twitter who just won't let it up. He just keeps going back and back and back. Oh, Shapiro, and he's calling him out for being Jewish, which, okay, Orthodox Judaism is a lie so far as God is concerned, because it has stolen the history of the religion of Jesus Christ and made it something that's not about Jesus Christ. And as Christians, we have to be able to say that. But I don't know, it like borderlines on Jew hating the way that the one guy's kind of saying it. Right? And I don't know, maybe it's Twitter, maybe it's language, right? Certainly, I'm afraid to even say the word Jew, even though that's the word that they would use to describe themselves. I have the same issue saying the word black as an Orthodox white male or a straight white male, and I'm not allowed to just talk anymore. At least not without being afraid of being called something. So I get that too, but and so maybe I'm misreading this other stuff, but what I just can't get over is, I don't like this song. They will know we are Christians by our love, It's a crappy song. But it's also a verse in the Bible, right? Oh, did I get that wrong? I hope I didn't get that wrong. This is the problem with live. No editing. Pretty sure it's there, right? Paul says they will know. Is it Paul? John? I got to go look this up now. Now I got to study. If it's not there, it is, no, Jesus says this in John. Now I'm going to fight over it in my own head. I need a way to look it up while I'm on a phone. The song's a bad song because it gives the idea that somehow by being loving, we're going to convince people that Jesus is God, and that's not quite right. That's not quite right. But if we cannot forgive someone who publicly says, I'm sorry, but instead have to drive it home in rage and anger, then there is something spiritually sick about us. And why would he ever want to become a Christian then? What about our treatment of him after this could ever convince him that we have something different than what he has? All he's got is law too, right? All he's got is justice too. That's what that's what Pharisaism is all about. So why are we, the Christians, being the Pharisees in this situation? Why are we not just out there saying, I forgive you, I forgive you? I'll try to say more about that this week and hopefully amend my lack of biblical knowledge. I didn't quote Bible and verse. I didn't quote chapter and verse, and I may have actually misquoted. Oh, I'm human too. And it's 10 minutes on YouTube, straight up. More of this coming your way, I hope. We'll see. Right on. Rock on.